The story of the Kings 11 Punjab just does not cease to amaze. Languishing at the bottom of the table no more than a week or so back, they've come back to beat the defending champions in 2 super overs. They've then beaten the Delhi Capitals, a team that's been on top of the table for a large part of this year's tournament, back at full strength or nearly full strength, quite convincingly, and they keep their campaign very much alive as a result of this 5-wicket win in Dubai. On Whirlpool presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, powered by Dell, to look back at a rather bizarre game for the Delhi Capitals, where it was one man and nobody else for Shreyas Iyer's side. Ajit Agarkar is here, so too is Deepdas Gupta. They've done it, the Kings 11 Punjab. For the sake of variety, they decided to finish it in the 19th over and not cause any unnecessary damage to Anil Kumble's nerves, which has anyway been on the knife's edge since he turned 50 a week or so back. But let's look back at this game, Ajit, and just look at a Kings 11 Punjab side that have done something a lot of people thought they wouldn't be able to. They've beaten Mumbai and Delhi in back-to-back games.
Yeah, and what a good performance today. I mean, if you take out Shikhar Dhawan's 100, I think everything else that they did was just spot on. I mean, they would have liked to do it a bit more easy, lose less wickets, because there were some soft dismissals there. But they've dominated this game, and you've got to give them a lot of credit. I think from where they were languishing to where they are at this point, a really good Delhi team. So, and okay, perhaps the runs were not. Delhi got a few less, but Punjab have done it quite comfortably for a change. Not just Anil Kumble, I think all the commentators must be happy as well. Super over the previous time, so did it easy this time.
Yeah, and this story began in this fashion against the Delhi Capitals for Punjab. So it's nice that they've managed to get over the line in a rather undramatic, non-dramatic fashion. But Deep, as we look back at this Punjab innings, shall we begin with Nicholas Pooran?
Oh, fantastic! Listen, I've always been a Pooran fan. I think he's a well-rounded batsman with a proper temperament, and he has all the gears, as I've mentioned before. He's got the gears, he's got the temperament, the right mindset. I think he's a fabulous player, and good that he came good when they needed him the most. But yeah, talking about Kings 11, listen, I mean, they've won 4 games, and all 4 of them have been against the top 3 sides. So it's DC, MI, and RCB. So, I mean, this game particularly should give them a lot of confidence.
Yeah, we'll talk about the campaign for the Kings 11 in just a bit. But since we're focusing on Pooran, I like the word Deep uses, Ajit, temperament. Today was a real test of that. They lost KL Rahul, who's pretty much been the man constant with all their chases, going deep at least into the game. You've lost Mayank Agarwal, the other informed batsman, run out. Suddenly, all the ghosts of the past can come into you. But Pooran decides to play a different game, not the Rahul-esque chase innings. He decides to take them on, and he scores at a strike rate of 200 odd. By the time he gets out, the game's 5 and over.
Yeah, I mean, you said temperament, but I mean, he just kept going, isn't it? But he's such a special player. That kind of striking talent, very few people have, and he does it easy. It's massive sixes for someone who doesn't feel like he's muscling the ball. And just, every time you felt like Delhi were trying to get back in the game, he just had a 10-run over. It was as simple as that. And, it started to actually settle down when he got out to Rabada trying to leave the ball. But it's an incredible innings. Just made life so much easier for the rest of the batters. Like you mentioned, suddenly you need 5 runs and over in a T20 game. All you have to do is just push around singles. And even though they lost a wicket later of Maxwell, they were well in control. So incredible innings from a special player. And I'm glad IPL is getting to see the best of him.
Yeah, a lot of us called it for Nicholas Pooran. Ajit, one of them, Deep, too, that he would be a breakaway player for Kings 11 Punjab, and he's coming good at just the right time for them. In hindsight now, before we get to our 5-point review, Deep, in hindsight now, we're wondering what sort of innings was that first innings by Delhi, where one guy is going at 180, 200 or 170 eventually, and the others can't even get a 20. You've got Gale going at a strike rate of 200. You've got Pooran going at that heavy strike rate. You've got Maxwell and Rahul going at 130 plus. So can we look back at the rest of that Delhi batting order and say they let Shikhar Dhawan down?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yes. And this is the second game in a row. Even the last game, they should have won it actually quite easily after that 100 from Shikhar. Again, they need to actually address this now. I mean, in one game, it happens, all right, you understand, let's say, okay, one bad game and you move on. But if this has happened back to back in two games, so they will have to address this issue. And listen, I mean, they have they have really deep batting, right? They have deep batting. They've got big hitters, boundary hitters in Hetmeyer, Stoinis, and it's just amazing. It's amazing that nobody actually the intent as well. It's not that they didn't. Even the intent, there was a lack of intent, which which was quite evident.
Also, just to add to that, Ronak, I mean, also tells you Prithvi Shaw's form, isn't it? I mean, he's the one guy who gave them starts when Shikhar was still sort of finding. I mean, he was still getting runs, but maybe not as quickly as he did. And Prithvi Shaw clearly seems to be struggling with his form after those two low innings. Today was a very unusual innings for him.
Hmm.
Tried to get going, never could. There's some good bowling against him. So that's certainly a little bit of a concern for them. If he doesn't hit form and Shreyas Iyer has to come in early, we've seen Shreyas Iyer change his approach as well, where he tries to build his innings. So there are a few things that maybe not a huge concern for them at this point because there's enough depth in that squad or in that 11. But they'll certainly want to address and get it right before the playoffs, which they are likely to make.
All right. Well, let's go to Nicholas Puran then and just look back at the impact of his innings in detail. Always a question whether pushing him down to 4 after Gale's inclusion, Ajit, would have any impact on Puran's game. But he seems rather uncomplicated with his approach.
Yeah, which the right word for it. Uncomplicated. Just knows his game well at the moment. Trusts his game. Apart from the running between wickets earlier on in his innings, I don't think he played played a false shot at all. Uh, and Gale's playing quite well. Gale almost seems or looks determined at the moment to show that they made a mistake keeping him out in spite of batting at number 3. So some good things happening in that Kings 11 batting order. I mean, if all of them come off, that's as explosive a batting lineup as you can get in the IPL. I don't think that too many teams. I certainly, apart from Mumbai, I don't see anyone as explosive as that batting lineup. But Puran's just at number 4. See, the thing is he bats the same way against spin and pace, which then makes it harder to target him with a particular bowler.
Hmm.
In some ways, Deep, he came
Yeah.
in the 6th over, the end of the 6th over, and he got out just before the 13th over. You think that's the phase where a lot of batsmen are struggling to figure out what gear to go by? Puran's innings was a template today.
I mean, spot on. I mean, not template because I mean, not too many people have that kind of ability that Puran has, and also the way he scores. It's very orthodox cricketing shots. I mean, when you look at those shots, he wasn't slogging. He was just playing normal cricket. So that's the reason. I mean, he makes it look so easy. I mean, it's 53 of 28. It wasn't like he was trying to up the ante or trying to kind of force the pace and all that. He was just playing normal orthodox cricketing shots, and it's very difficult. There are not too many people in world cricket who has that kind of ability that Puran has.
All right. Let's just think about the Chris Gale cameo. Because in a week that's just given us so many surprises, it's shown us that Chris Gale can also play a different way if perhaps he's asked to. Or was it a case of Delhi missing a trick by bowling Tushar Deshpande ahead of R. Ashwin with his impressive record against Gale? Deep, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Ashwin's record against Gale, I mean, he's been brilliant. I think this is the 5th time he got him out in IPL or something. But yeah, I guess they wanted Tushar to come in and bowl short because, yes, off late, that's been an area of challenge for Chris Gale, short and quick. And Tushar has that ability. He's quick in the, he's quick in the air and also off the surface. He bowls a good bouncer as well. So you can understand why Shreyas got him. And also Shreyas because he plays with Tushar. I mean, they're in the same side, Bombay. So maybe has that kind of also confidence in Tushar to deliver. But it didn't work today, unfortunately.
I'm trying to think, Ajit, if the idea was Gale's just played 5 balls. He's not going to tee off till he's facing 20. Let me sneak on over with Tushar Deshpande. Did it backfire though?
Yeah, I mean, they've obviously forgotten what Chris Gale can do. It's, I mean, once he got that first boundary away, which was a slightly shortish ball back a length, punched it through cover. I think he just realized he could take that over on. And, obviously, inexperience of Deshpande, just sometimes you play into the hands, you try and bowl quicker as a young bowler instead of just getting it in the right area. I don't think it would have mattered. I think he had decided to go in that over, and you just saw the brute power that Chris Gale had, and we've seen it over the years. So tough on the bowler on the night when you run into someone like a Chris Gale in that sort of mood. But Delhi perhaps did miss a trick, and in thinking that speed can trouble him. Perhaps should have got Ashwin on a bit earlier.
Hmm.
And
And Ronak,
yes,
also Chris Gale, if you see, I mean, he targets one over. If he gets a boundary of the first or the second delivery, and Ajit would know this better than most. I mean, he just picks up a over or a bowler and he goes after that person.
yeah.
So if you see Chris Gale's innings, there'll be 2-3 massive overs. If he gets 100, there'll be only 4 overs, and those are massive overs. So I think unfortunately it was Tushar at the receiving end today.
Yeah, fair enough. I was trying to think of the Gale point if we're then going to just see him normalize after that over, that he's taken that one over. But it looked like he was ready to go after Ashwin too, in spite of that record. So I don't know if there's a word from the dressing room, Ajit, that Gale's now got to play a slightly different innings. There's Puran to come, there's Maxwell to come. Could that be an indication from the little evidence that we saw today?
I I don't think so. I think it was just that he felt confident. He must have felt confident after that over. Whacked Ashwin for a good boundary before that. It's just sometimes how you feel as a batsman or as a player, and he just trusted his instinct. Just got outfoxed by Ashwin again. And great piece of bowling that, to actually be brave enough to toss the ball when someone's just scored as many runs as he did in the last 7 balls or so. So you got to give credit to Ashwin, I think. But I don't think there's a set role for him yet. I mean, someone who's been a T20 grade, I don't think you're going to set roles for him. I think he's got enough experience to know how to bat in situations. It's about having the confidence and having the form behind you.
Yeah, he's what Chris Gale is. He's going to do whatever he wants anyway. So let's leave it with that. Let's go to our next point now. And just in hindsight, Deep, whether the decision to bat first after RCB chased against Rajasthan in Dubai, today the chase seemed relatively under control. Is that something that's worth considering? Whether the decision to bat first was perhaps in hindsight a wrong one?
I don't think so, because they were set to get to 180, 185. End of the day, they'll think about their batting energy and say, listen, they were 15 runs short. They got their 100 in the 12th, 13th over, and from there on, with I think 7 wickets in hand. From there on, you expect them to get to 180. So I don't think batting first was an issue. Not batting well in the first innings was an issue.
Ajit?
Yeah, I mean, at this stage in the competition, I mean, if you're a captain, you would want to bat first. I think it's just not batting well enough. I mean, when a guy gets 100 or 50 something balls or 106 in an innings of 164, tells you there's been something wrong at the other end. And that's where, again, stoinis has become such an important or integral part of them finishing off innings or getting to the scores where they've successfully defended. He gets out today and they don't quite get there, or he doesn't get the kind of cameo or a innings that Delhi have been used to, and they suddenly don't get to a score. I always felt mid innings that 164 was never going to be enough if Punjab batted well, and in spite of somebody getting 106, so they've got to sort that batting out, especially when you're getting such incredible innings from one guy. All you need to do is bat around him, and you'll get to a total which, with their bowling, they'll be able to defend.
I tell you what, it's getting to that stage in the tournament where perhaps losing the toss is a great thing. This is the 8th game in a row now where the team that's won the toss has lost the game, albeit a couple of super overs. So maybe it doesn't matter. Just lose the toss and figure the rest out. The last point that I'd like to discuss is Punjab and what these 2 wins can do for them now, Deep. 4 points, that too against Mumbai and Delhi. You mentioned they've already played Bangalore twice, they played Mumbai twice, they've played Delhi twice. That's 3 of the teams that have been the better teams in this tournament. They've got games against Rajasthan, against Chennai, against Sunrisers. All of a sudden, is the conversation for Punjab very different as we approach the last couple of weeks of the league phase?
Absolutely, yes. And especially this win, because they kind of won this comfortably. They've had issues with the other victories, but this one, they won comfortably. Secondly, I mean, listen, they won it despite Rahul not scoring, Mayank not scoring, Chris Gale getting a start but not getting a big one. So it's basically the middle order, which was their concern initially. They got those runs. Maxwell got runs, Puran got runs, Huda did well, then Jiminisham finished it off. So I think, yeah, I mean, and also, I mean, that's the batting aspect. Now the bowling aspect. The biggest concern again was death overs. And today, Shami, not just today, I mean, last few games, Shami's been brilliant in the death. Arshdeep has been brilliant last 2-3 games in the death as well. So I think they're ticking a lot of boxes in the last couple of games. So that's where I think they should be growing in confidence, and you better watch out for them now.
Yeah, I like that.
Sorry,
Yes, Ajit.
the best thing about their next 4 games is that
Yeah.
they play Sunrisers, KKR, Chennai, and Rajasthan. All the teams who they are fighting for a well,
Yeah.
Chennai look like worst positioned at this point. All the teams that they are fighting to get into that top four. So couldn't have scripted it better. If they can continue this form, they'll certainly be putting all those guys under pressure.
I tell you what, if there's a team that deserves to be in the playoffs, just for the sheer talking points that they've given
You
us
know
this,
what?
it's
They
Punjab.
might not be the best team in the comp, but they're the most interesting and entertaining team in the
Oh,
competition for sure.
without it. They gave us the first super over. They ensured we had a super over in the first place, in the first week, or rather, second or third day of the tournament. They've given us a double super over, which only they could have topped. They've won games that they shouldn't. They've lost games that they shouldn't. Punjab are the team of the tournament already. It doesn't matter who wins this fight. That wraps it up for KL Rahul. Would be delighted, like Deep Das Gupta points out, that his team has gone over the line without a significant contribution of the bat, perhaps for the first time this season from KL Rahul. And that's where they are. Suddenly, they're hot on the heels of the fourth place playoff position. So KKR are at 10 points. They've got a massive game against RCB tomorrow. Imagine if that doesn't go their way. It already is a reflection that the Kings 11 net run rate, keep an eye out on that, is better than that of KKR. So good luck trying to rule Kings 11 out just yet. Ajit's already pointed out 3 teams below them form their 4 fixtures, the fourth being the one just above. They're done playing the big boys, and it's now in some ways in their hands if they are to make it. Let's see how this evolves over the next week or so. Deep Das Gupta, Ajit Agarkar, this was fun. A rather low-key Kings 11 Punjab game. They finished it in the 19th over, but don't rule out they could come back to give us a little drama soon. We'll get thoughts from Ajit and Deep as we enter a very interesting period of this year's IPL, and you'll of course join us tomorrow 7 p.m. for build up to that cracking game between Kolkata and Bangalore. So do join us then for Whirlpool Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, powered by Dell.